The next 2 hours with Van Halen is brought to you by Toyota, who invite you to visit your local Toyota dealer and see the sporty new SR5 sports truck. By Jensen Car Audio, Jensen when it's the sound that moves you. And by Original Levi's Accessories. Levi's, the legend lives on.
Hello and welcome to another Source event, the Van Halen Special with your host, Sean McKay.
The idea with Van Halen was to get discovered, just like in the movies, just like it says in the comic books, like the flu. Van Halen is going around. Shots don't do any good.
Ever since we started playing, we felt there was a need to instill this Van Halenism in everybody.
When Van Halen's debut album stormed the charts in early 1978, there was already something about their music that was special. There was nothing new about their straight-ahead approach. But what set Van Halen apart from countless other hard rock bands was the brilliant intensity of their playing. In particular, the virtuoso guitar work of Eddie Van Halen. Not since Jimi Hendrix has a guitarist received so much attention and praise and been imitated by other players as Eddie Van Halen. During the next 2 hours, we'll trace the 5-album career of this West Coast band with the help of drummer Alex Van Halen and their colorful frontman David Lee Roth. Van Halen, a portrait in platinum. Van Halen's version of Dancin' in the Streets from their latest album, Diver Down. One reason for Van Halen's continued success is they're basically a bar band. Seasoned professionals who played night after night in California clubs. The Van Halen brothers, Alex and Eddie, were born in Holland, but spent their teenage years in Los Angeles where they formed a power trio called Mammoth. After a few changes, the final Mammoth lineup included bass player Michael Anthony and a singer who had been in a rival LA bar band, David Lee Roth.
I've been playing music since I was about 9 years old. You know, I first got my radio and decided I had to be on the radio one way or another. And so I've been singing and dancing since I was 9, 10 years old. Van Halen's had been playing, and we were in various rock and roll bands. I was a crosstown rival, and the Van Halens were from another neighborhood, and it was real rivalry. Man, we couldn't stand each other, and each band had its own little following, you know, and the following couldn't stand the other following, you know, and it was all very dramatic, very exciting, and I wouldn't have given it up for the world, you know. That's what makes rock and roll in its inception. It should never change. And it was only natural that we would get together. You know, it's just the same same philosophy as marriage.
Drummer Alex Van Halen.
You get to a certain point in life where you either pursue it or you're influenced by certain people or things to go become a doctor or go to school or drive a cab, whatever you want. And none of the above applied, so we all opted for choice D, which was starving. And having a good time at it.
David Lee Roth and Alex Van Halen described the early days of Mammoth, which later became Van Halen.
We started out in backyard parties, and I remember these huge parties. After a while, we'd play for a year every other weekend, and the rich kids would get the big pad when Mom and Dad split to Reno, and, you know, we'd set up a little stage, and we'd, you know, borrow some PA and some extra amplifiers, and we'd throw a party, charge $1 in the back. And I have movies of the police breaking up. One party had maybe 800-900 people at it, and there's all the lights looked like New Year's Eve out there on the street.
We played everywhere. Our thing was that we wanted to play our music. Although we did do a number of cover songs and things to be able to pay the rent.
We would play top 40, we would play other people's material, but it always took a Van Halen sound.
You Really Got Me, the Kinks hit of '64, covered by Van Halen on their first album. The band had a huge following around LA by the time Warner Brothers signed them in 1977. And when their first album came out in 1978, there was a national buzz about this new group with an incredible guitar player, drummer Alex Van Halen.
We actually started promoting our own shows. That's the thing that really got us going. And we could draw 5,000 to 6,000 people to our own thing. And people just, I mean, the record people could not ignore it, you know. They're daily trying to make a living, so to speak, by selling records. And rather than peddle a tape and have somebody go, yeah, okay, well, let's put them in green monkey suits, and then we'll, change their hair color and make them wear lipstick, and have them play only in this area and only this kind of songs. It just didn't seem right to us. We wanted to do what we wanted to do.
Running with the Devil on the Van Halen Special. David Lee Roth.
Running with the Devil is kind of an anthem. It wasn't meant that way. Van Halen hasn't necessarily made a concerted effort to do anything in the 8-10 years that we've been together. It's just sort of happened that way. And people, it's a feeling. It's a song built more than on a storyline. It's built around a feeling. And sometimes you feel like you're running.
Up next, the first tour and the second album when the Van Halen Special continues from the source. Ain't Talking About Love from the first Van Halen album. All 5 Van Halen LPs have been produced by Warner Brothers staff producer Ted Templeman. Alex recalls their first meeting.
Ted came down and saw us at this one show that we did, which surprisingly didn't sell too well. But he was really interested in the music we were making, and he liked it. He saw in Van Halen what we tried to bring across, and he was very good in reproducing it on vinyl.
David Lee Roth gives us the background on another song from that first album, Ice Cream Man.
I got it off of some old blues record my best friend Stan gave me back in high school. And I learned the lyrics off of the record and wrote the music myself. It's a blues translation, as much as the blues can be translated. And I used to play solo stuff at the Ice House and write all the jokes down on an index card and put them on the top of the guitar, and tape them there so you could talk in between the songs and everything, and go down to audition night at the Ice House in Pasadena.
Ice Cream Man on the Van Halen Special. One of the standout tracks on Van Halen's first is Jamie's Cryin', David Lee Roth.
Jamie's Cryin' is Van Halen's answer to Problem Children. Jamie's Cryin' is, what do you call it? Hard rock cha-cha? Heavy metal samba? And that's why it's difficult a lot of times, I feel, for people to categorize Van Halen directly in the press. And I read some of the reviews, and people just can't come up with a distinct category. They either love it or hate it. And people love to hate just as much as they love to love, maybe more.
Jamie's Cryin' from Van Halen. The first album went platinum, 1 million copies sold, on the strength of heavy airplay and their first national tour. Alex Van Halen.
Well, the first tour was something that was, we were opening for Journey in Montrose for 3 weeks, which turned out to be 10 months. The album took off, people really liked what we were doing, and the demand was there, so we just kept playing. And it was a good time, it was a good learning experience, and we were glad to get to be on stage to do that. Over the course of the 10 months that we've been playing, you do things that, little mundane things such as sound checks and that type of thing. And, sometimes you want to play something different and you might have a new idea. So the second album was actually written while we were touring. And we came up with a very appropriate name, which was Van Halen 2.
You're No Good, another Van Halen cover from 1979's Van Halen 2. Like the first album, Van Halen 2 sold well immediately, and the band started headlining their own shows. David Lee Roth seems to have a story for every song they've recorded.
Bottoms Up is a toast. Bottoms Up is something that we've all said before, and the music just conjured up that. It sounds like a drinking song, and one of the reasons specifically was we used to play up in Pomona, California, and it was in the middle of nowhere. I mean nowhere. You're driving for 45 minutes through nothing but the hills. And we used to play there 4 or 5 nights a week, 5 sets a night. And we would start playing these boogie songs, and it was always accompanied, I'd noticed, by the sounds of breaking glass. And when Edward first played me the riff from Bottoms Up, I heard breaking glass.
Bottoms Up from Van Halen 2. More from that album when our conversation with Alex Van Halen and David Lee Roth continues from the source. Our conversation with Van Halen's David Lee Roth continues. The subject, Beautiful Girls.
Beautiful Girls was written in the Opel Cadet station wagon on our way to Hermosa Beach, which is sin capital of the Western Hemisphere. The Southern California beaches are by now world universally famous, and we were on our way to participate. And that sums up just a general, well, it's an instinctual thing, I think, is what we're talking about right here. It's man has 2 basic instincts that are primarily responsible for his continued existence, and that is the drive to survive and the necessity to procreate the race, which translated roughly in rock and roll or entertainment terms is sex and violence. So we were driving to the beach to procreate.
Beautiful Girls from Van Halen 2. Somebody Get Me a Doctor is another favorite from that album. David Lee Roth says he approached that song a little differently.
I had a concept sometime in my life when I would write some songs that weren't a storyline. They weren't love affair songs, as in I love you or I don't love you or I wish I could love you or don't love me because I'm such a bad man or I wish you loved me or, like that. Let's write about a feeling. And we've all felt like somebody give me a doctor. Somebody give me a shot.
Somebody Get Me a Doctor on the Van Halen Special. One of the singles from Van Halen 2 was Dance the Night Away, which some listeners thought was not essential Van Halen.
We caught some flack on that for what kind of song it was in relation to something like, say, Running with the Devil. It's a different kind of a sound. But once again, our influences are so varied as individuals. The four of us are just worlds apart. What I like in terms of music, Edward can't stand. Edward goes to the Roxy and he jams with Alan Holdsworth, and I listen to Bob Marley, and it's two different things, and that both are represented in our music, whether it's the way Edward plays the guitar or the way I sing, and it defies categorization that way.
Dance the Night Away. Coming up in hour 2, Van Halen in the 80s. Van Halen's third album, Women and Children First, was released in 1980 and followed the golden path of the first two albums. One of the band's biggest crowd pleasers is included on this album, vocalist David Lee Roth.
Everybody Wants Some is a classic. It's more like a gospel message, isn't it? That could be a gospel song. Brothers, everybody wants some. The question is, if you want it, when it comes to your brothers and sisters, thou must question thyself. Can you take it? Also, the middle of it was improv. Once again, David failed to come up with the proper tools for, in the middle of the song when the quiet part came and Teddy Templeman says to me, "Hey, Dave, you got that part ready for the middle? You got something to sing for that?" I said, "Sure, Ted." So he bends over to thread the tape and talk to the engineer, and I'm thinking, "Oh, God, man, oh, wow, there's a real pretty girl sitting behind the glass booth." So I just started talking to her. He played the music, said, "Thanks, cut, print. We'll keep that, Dave. What's the next one, boys?"
Everybody Wants Some from Women and Children First. At only 25, Eddie Van Halen is a true innovator with the guitar, both acoustic and electric. Without playing extended solos and adding numerous overdubs, his guitar work fills every conceivable space with amazing intensity and imagination. Bandmates Alex Van Halen and David Lee Roth are the first to acknowledge Eddie's incredible talent.
There is, I think, a certain a certain gift that you're endowed with, And Ed just happened to utilize what he can naturally do. He happens to be very quick in the fingers. He happens to have a very good sense of direction as far as musical tastes go and song structure. And, if you play it for 8 hours a day, you're bound to come out with something.
Edward lives and breathes by his guitar. He always has. People said, "Wow, has Edward changed, since he got married?" And I said, "No, to tell you the truth, whenever we're on the airplane, Edward's in the back with his guitar, Whenever we're on a bus, Edward's in the back with his guitar. Whenever we're in the hotel, he's upstairs in his room with his guitar or some other people playing guitar. And the only time he's not with his guitar is when he's sleeping."
Take Your Whiskey Home from Women and Children First. Van Halen is a very loose-knit organization, prone to jam and experiment for the sheer love of playing. Sometimes these experiments become songs. Drummer Alex Van Halen.
We started to experiment with different instruments. And the one thing we didn't want to do was to have an extra musician on stage. We didn't want to, have the four-piece brass section or the hidden organist underneath the scrim, playing away like a big dog and that kind of thing. We wanted to keep it pure. just plain Van Halen, nothing else. And that's basically what we did. Cradle Will Rock was the one with the keyboards in it. Ed and I and Dave and Mike were sitting around the basement, and I think Ed dropped a beer on the keyboard and went, we said, hey, let's write a song. And there it was.
And the Cradle Will Rock on the Van Halen Special. Vocalist David Lee Roth has written all the lyrics to the band's original songs. He describes how lyrics come to him.
When I write lyrics, and I've written all of the words for the original material on all of the Van Halen records, it's been a thing where I hear Edward's music or the compositions that the band are putting together, and immediately I just know what it's about. I know the feeling that it conjectures. I know the storyline, if there is one. I see faces, I see costumes, I see lighting, I even see the commercials, man.
In a Simple Rhyme from Women and Children First. Up next, Fair Warning. In 1981, Van Halen released their fourth album, Fair Warning, possibly the band's most misunderstood album and the one that took the longest to record. Alex recalls the increased group involvement with producer Ted Templeman.
Fair Warning was one of the first albums that we had more input as far as certain sounds, being able to talk to Ted about certain ideas that we had, and him not saying to himself, well, hey, these guys are kind of jerks. Sure, I'll humor them and say, yeah, and then I'll change it in the mix anyway. And so it was more of an actual, real group type of a production.
So this is Love from Van Halen's Fair Warning. A song that seemed to sum up the mood of this LP was Push Comes to Shove, which originally had a different feel and title. Alex.
It was originally going to be called Song for Reggie, because we started off as a reggae type of affair, and then we completely changed it around in the studio in a matter of 2 seconds, and it came out to be Push Comes to Shove, which I think keeps in the same vein as the whole attitude of the album, which was, Fair Warning. The cover, the main thing you see there is the guy beating up on somebody. I don't know who it is. Could be his sister, could be his mother. Use your imagination. Push Comes to Shove, it might have been the album title.
Push Comes to Shove from Fair Warning. Diver Down, Sails Up, next. Diver Down, the latest Van Halen album, just went platinum. As on the first album, the band covered another Kinks tune, Where Have All the Good Times Gone? David Lee Roth.
Where have all the good times gone? Indeed. How many business people are out on stage hacking away, trying to tunesmith, trying to craft the dollar, man? Where are all the good times gone in rock and roll?
Where Have All the Good Times Gone? From Diver Down. On Hang 'em High from that album, David Lee Roth says he had Clint Eastwood in mind.
Hang 'em High is like Clint Eastwood, straight from the hip. Doo, doo. The man who comes from nowhere and goes home to nobody. The man, the mystery, the legend, the song. Hang 'em High.
Hang 'em High from Van Halen's latest Diver Down. More from Diver Down and a glimpse into the future when our Van Halen profile concludes. Alex and Eddie Van Halen come from a musical family. Their father, Jan Van Halen, makes a cameo appearance on Diver Down. Alex.
He had a good time, and it brought back the old feeling. And we had a good time because we recorded it in the old fashion, which was just one microphone and everybody sitting around in kind of a jam session.
Big Bad Bill and Sweet William Now from Diver Down, featuring the Van Halen's father, Jan, playing clarinet. The current single is Secrets, and David Lee Roth got the lyrics from greeting cards.
Secrets is a song, basically a love song. It's about a woman, and it is truly heartfelt. It's something that I felt lyrically close to my state of being, but in fact I got the lyrics from these greeting and get well cards that I got in Albuquerque, New Mexico. They were written in the style of American Indian. May your little moccasins make happy tracks in the summer snow and stuff like that. So I just sort of paraphrased along, and it came out very romantic sounding. Rainbows, touching shoulders. I like it.
Secrets from Diver Down. For this Source event, we went to Greensboro, North Carolina for Van Halen's opening night for their 82 tour, and asked the fans what they liked about Van Halen.
It was a blast, man. Rock and roll, David Lee Roth. Woo! Diamond David. David Lee Roth, the best. Wild as ever.
It was fabulous. beautiful, lovely. I enjoyed it.
Pretty damn good.
It was wonderful. Fantastic.
Enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, it was outrageous. David Lee Roth's pants.
1982 marked Van Halen's video debut with their own production of Oh Pretty Woman. The instrumental Intruder was written as scoring for part of that video. David Lee Roth explains.
Intruder was originally designed as soundtrack music for the Pretty Woman video. We did the movie of Pretty Woman without any regards to the music at all. I'm not into musical comedy, I'm not into musical drama. You know, if it's going to be drama, let's be dramatic, baby, you know. We make the movie, and when we did the movie, it turns out that the movie was 2 minutes or so too long for the song Pretty Woman. So in fine Hollywood tradition, I just said, I will not edit anything. We will cut nothing. We leave nothing out of this art project. We will write soundtrack music. I wrote it on the synthesizer, all 4 notes.
Roy Orbison had a hit with Oh Pretty Woman in 1964. 18 years later, it was Van Halenized.
Oh Pretty Woman, oh Pretty Woman. How many times you felt that way, fellas? Yeah, and you know what it feels like to be on the other end, ladies. Oh man, that's life, man. That's the drive to survive, baby. That's what makes the world go around. Are you lonely just like me?
Oh Pretty Woman from Diver Down. Recently, there's been some talk that David Lee Roth wants to get into the movies. Is that true?
Well, yes, I think so. You can never tell, what kind of role it's going to be, but I would prefer to do something not related to rock and roll. But then on the other hand, I kind of have my hands full now.
With 5 best-selling albums, even rock stars get the blues. Alex.
Sometimes you have your ups and your downs, and you need to go see your spiritual consultant, so to speak. Well, it was Sunday, and I felt the need to be spiritually guided. So I went down to my neighborhood guru. Here's the deal. What he would do is he would ask you a question that was supposedly real deep, and you're supposed to think about it. And for $500, he will give you the answer. Well, I was in a good mood. I said, what the hey, So he gave me the question. He looked me square in the eyeballs, and he said, all right, there's 2 flies in the kitchen. Which one is the cowboy? So I sat there, went home, meditated for a while, gave him the $500, and he says, oh, my son, it's the one on the range.
With the depressed economy so much a part of American life recently, it's especially amazing that Van Halen has maintained their continued success without compromising their music. It's a real tribute to all 4 of them. We hope you've enjoyed the Van Halen Special, and if you have any comments about the program, please write us at The Source, 30 Rockefeller Plaza, New York, 10020, or in care of this station. I'm Sean McKay, and we'll be back with another Source event.
The Van Halen Special was written by Stephen Johnson, production assistant Joe Madden, and special thanks to Steve Mandel, associate producer Bill Bonashevitz, executive producer Denny Somack. I'm Tommy Sandell. The Van Halen Special was produced by Sean McKay for Denny Somack Productions as an exclusive presentation of The Source.